Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to the Punters Lounge. Our nation's capital is very rarely the capital of New Zealand racing, but today it very much is. Trentham is where we're going to be at for most of this morning's preview. It's their biggest race day of the year, one of New Zealand's biggest race days of the year. I'm glad you could join us for it. Coming out of Trentham, the 4 feature races. We have a huge team on track for that. We'll talk to Thad Taylor. We'll talk to some of the trainers involved. Sean Ritchie has a strong hand. Peter Locke has a fresh runner in the Telegraph, and we'll talk to Anthony Mitham from Rosemont Stud in Australia about why they would send a mare over here looking for Group 1 glory, and is True Excelsior good enough? Also, as the second meeting today, but a very strong second meeting, we have Gore coming up. Mark Cookson, Dave McDonald on track for us there for Gore Cup and Gore Guineas Day. A little bit of Australian racing coming in later in the program. We'll speak to some of the Australian experts about that, but predominantly your morning here on Punters Lounge is going to be about Trentham and trying to find you a winner. Thad Taylor is a little bit closer to Trentham than I am, down there in Wellington. Thaddeus, good morning to you. What we need to know, very bluntly, is where has the money gone for the big day?
Yeah, look, it's been pretty feverish. The betting fields at Trentham are obviously tremendous, Michael. Sort of highlighted by the fact we've got 3 $8 favourites in the Wellington Cup. But there is one horse at Trentham in particular that has been extremely well backed. It's $16 currently in the Vodafone New Zealand Derby futures market, and that is Lord Arthur. Boy, oh boy, he was impressive at Rotorua last time. He looks like he's a really progressive type. And we have had a $5,000 bet on Lord Arthur. I think it for $3.60, Michael. Now $3.40. And obviously Weaponry leads the charge down there at the Gore Guineas. Currently odds on $1.90. But Riviera Rock is one down there at Gore for each way punters. I think around $5 there, Riviera Rock. But the money's flying around, Michael, at Trentham. The betting fields are tremendous. Some great horses paying some big money, so that gets punters excited.
One more question for you, Thad, before we set the scene on track with the weather and track conditions. Melody Bell, 220 from barrier 18, has never won from outside barrier 7, out to 230. For those who want to play now, do we expect, and try and give us a little bit of a hint, more of a drift in the big field because there's lots of percentage to cover, or do we see her coming back in with the public support and the fact that she's the best known horse in the race?
Yeah, you've asked the right question, and that is the whole question of this market, Michael. We've seen some movement in that middle market, particularly around the likes of Hanger, High Fly's been popular, even Gift of Power, they're the second favourite. So where is her mark? I can't be particularly sure. She's 230 at the moment. Will we see 250 at some point? I feel like there's going to be a late rally for Melody Bell. I wouldn't be concerned if you were taking 230 now. I don't think you're taking massive unders. She's certainly not friendless, but that is the crux of the whole race. What price Melody Bell in today's Telegraph?
More from Thad later on, but one key factor is going to be whether the inside of the track plays hot, like it did last week, and therefore Melody Bell is disadvantaged enormously by the draw, or whether they start coming down the middle of the track. That could well be the key to her chances and your chances of making money off her in the Telegraph. Here's the scene at Trentham, some cloud cover, nothing serious there, no rain about, obviously a good soul of grass. This day last year, they went to the inside and were successful, the like of Enzo's Lad in the Telegraph. This time last week, they did the same thing, but with a week of racing on the track and the rail and the true, that inside strip has had a lot more horses than, say, 3, 4, 5 and 6 wide, which is where we expect Melody Bell under Jason Waddell to potentially be. That's the scene at Trentham, a dead 4 for you to play, and we'll talk a lot more about the track there and what you can expect throughout the day with the team on track inside the next 90 minutes. Our other meeting today is Gore. It's Gore Guineas / Cup Day, $35,000 for the Cup, $50,000 for the Guineas, 2 Northerners going down for the Guineas and quite a few ex-Northerners in there as well. Mark Cookson and Dave McDonald on track. It's a beauty down there, 23 degrees, dead 5, and the rail is in the true for Gore Guineas Day.
Here's High Flyer descending down the scene very quickly now. He went bang at the 150. High Flyer dashed away 3 lengths of Mary Quant. Show the world the Justice League and Sanazar, but shut the gate. Well, this is the real High Flyer today. He's absolutely given them one. High Flyer's got them though, and that's a special win for Peter Locke.
Not very many times I'm lost for words, but I am a wee bit today. He's a very, very special horse.
High Flyer's bursting through. High Flyer got up right on the line. Oh, have a look at a class act. High Flyer, fresh up, brilliant.
It's not unheard of for a horse to win the Telegraph down to dog leg 6. A little bit on the fresh side. They don't come much more fresh though than High Flyer. Comes into this having not raced for the summer. Trainer Peter Locke joins us on the phone. Good morning to you, Peter.
Good morning, Michael. How's everything going?
Mate, I'm wonderful. Like you, I'm looking forward to a big day, but I'm sure you're looking forward to one race more than the others. Let's make this simple. How ready is High Flyer?
Well, I think he's as good as I can get him, Michael. Going into a Group 1 race, it's probably not the most best way of getting a horse ready for a Group 1 race, but listen, he's a very special horse, and he goes very, very well fresh. But I mean, this is a big ask coming into a Group 1 race with a high quality field like it is. But once I say he's a very, very good horse.
Explain to us, Peter, how you ended up in this situation. Were you not keen to go to Ellerslie and take on a race like the Railway, or is it a fact that you want to go from here to the 1400s at Te Rapa, then the 1600 at Otaki? Is this just a better fit for him heading forward to the second half of the season?
Yeah, listen, when he came home from Australia, we went straight to Hawke's Bay, ran a very, very good second to Melody Bell, and he went into the next leg, I think, a little bit tired and jaded after his big trip, and I decided to put him out, and he did really well on his break, probably the best he'd ever done, but he'd only just started doing it when we were ready to bring him back in. He only really just started to let down, so I left him out a little bit longer than I wanted to. And talking with a lot of the top trainers, as you know, in this game you never ever stop learning, and the Railway is a race that is a real Sprinters 1200, and Alan Sharrock and those guys told me last year when they sort of came down with their good horses, you know, a good miler can win the Telegraph, and so we decided to target this race instead of trying to get him ready too quickly for the Railway, and then, as you say, we'll probably head to Te Rapa, then maybe to Otaki, or if he happens to run a big race today, we may just go to Te Rapa and then maybe to Australia. But hey, it's all going to unfold after what happens today.
You mentioned Alan Sharrock. Of course, this time last year he took Coe, a similar horse to High Flyer, and the fact that he's better at 1400 or a mile to this race was a massive second. Coe's path to there involved going to the Cambridge trials on that second Tuesday in January. So did yours. What did you make of this third coming up, Peter? We're going to show this on here. You won't be able to see it, but your horse in the famous green colours, I thought a very sound third at Cambridge, and the sort of run that would bring him on.
Well, we were very happy with it. Sean Mackay, I give him a big rap because he's, when we take him to Matamata, Sean does all the work on him, and we've kept him on all the way through because he knows the horse so well. And he rode him at, came in between runs at Taupo, where I thought it was outstanding exhibition gallop. He said, listen, this horse only needs one more little hit out, nothing much more. And so we decided to go to Cambridge, and it was only 900 metres. And Sean got off and was just over the rap with him. You know, he was very, very happy with the way he trialled up. He said he had more in the tank. So, you know, that gave us a lot of encouragement to press on with it. And as I say, we think we've got him in the right place at the right time, and but as I say, we're not overconfident because it's a very, very good field of sprinters.
You mentioned jockeys. You have one, Jonathan Parks, on your horse. He leads the premiership at the moment. Where do you see Jonathan being? Do you see him being sort of just in front of midfield, maybe potentially even 3 wide coming across the dog leg? Because High Flyer, Peter, looks a horse who enjoys a bit of clear air in the last 400 metres.
yeah, most definitely, Michael. I mean, the ideal thing, what we want in racing, 95% of the time never ever happens. You either slow away, or you jump too good, or something gets in your way, or ideally, I can't see very many horses today coming from too far off the pace. And as you say, this guy's better with clear. He lets down really, really well. And a horse like him that's wanting a bit more ground, you couldn't afford to start with him, especially in this field. It's going to be they'll run a real good time today. And fingers crossed, if we can be just midfield or no further back and 2 or 3 off the fence with nice run into it, well, hopefully we'll be right there at the end of it. But as I say, I'm pretty nervous going into this with a very, very good field.
All right, Pete, let's forget all this TV malarkey. Say I rang you Saturday morning before the Telegraph and said, Pete, I've overspent. New Year's was big for me. Christmas was big. I'm going down to the pub with the boys. I'm going to have a few bets this afternoon. And I asked you honestly, do I back him, Pete? Do I back High Flyer each way? What do you really think? What would you say?
Well, he's win, lose or draw today, Michael. He's my champion. And I would say to you, put your money on.
All right. Well, by the time they run the Telegraph, Pete, I might be down the pub. So good luck to you, good luck to your champion, and good luck to the punters who take your advice with High Flyer this afternoon.
Thanks very much for your call.
That's Peter Lockie. Has High Flyer a $9 chance in the Telegraph, a horse who has already run Melody Bell close. And this season, not many in this race can say they've done that. On the other side of this break, as the Punters Lounge continues, we'll invite in one of the Australians to see why they have come all the way to Trentham looking for Group 1 black type.
I hope they didn't get your mind. Your heart is too strong anyway. We need to fetch back the time they have stolen from us. And I want you, we can bring it on the floor. Never danced like this before. We don't talk about it, dancing on to the boogie all night long. Stoned in paradise, shouldn't talk about it. I want you, we can bring it on the floor. Never danced like this before. We don't talk about it, dancing on to the boogie all night long.
Volk Stock and Barrel is driving on the outside. Volk Stock and Barrel lunges and got up to win it. Volk Stock and Barrel an inch on the line to Preferment.
Congratulations, your first Group 1 you've been on track for. What a great celebration we've just seen already.
I promised myself, Cara, we've won a couple of Group 1s and I wasn't lucky enough to be on track. I promised myself if I get the opportunity to be on track, I'll just be calm and just collected and be a television presenter, a bit like yourself, Cara. Well, that went out the window about 30 seconds ago, didn't it, when I carried on like an absolute galoot.
It's 20 seconds till the last call. Going hey, I lie down, you know it's easy. I like when it all summer.
It's galoot time here on the Punters Lounge. Anthony Mitham from Rosemont Stud there with his first ever on-track Group 1 success, the mighty Volk Stock and Barrel a couple of years ago. He joins us now from Australia because they're chasing a Group 1 of a different type. It's an Australian horse coming to New Zealand this time in True Excelsior. Anthony, good morning to you.
G'day, Mick. How you going?
Mate, I've never been happier, buddy. I know it's been a busy time for you with the sales on recently. Talk us through this. We know the Australian sprinters tend to be better than our sprinters. I take it you're bringing this mare across here with one goal and one goal only, Group 1 glory, to add to her broodmare credentials.
Yeah. As you say over there, let's bring it on, and we're going to bring it on today, and hopefully she can crack her maiden stakes win in the biggest one of all in a Group 1. She's a high class mare that we've had a big opinion of right from the time Troy and Leon gave her first fast gallop. We identified her as as a group class horse, and she's been most unlucky to be group placed and stakes placed and fourth in a Group 1 in South Australia in the Sangster, and she deserves one. You know, she's a real trier, and we've probably mucked it up a few times with tactics and haven't quite got it right, but hopefully the moons will all meet today and she'll get a chance, and we'll carry on like the Lutes again.
Okay, she's been down the straight as we're watching here in the Standish on New Year's Day coming out of Flemington. Do you think that's an assist going to a dog leg? It's sort of the same thing.
Yeah, look, she's a sort of a free bowling sort of mare that likes to gallop. You know, she's an old-fashioned galloper that likes to build through a race and keep building. And we've liked her down the straight, but I think I like her more around the corner. And that big sweeping bend at Trentham should give it a chance to be somewhere up in the first 4 or 5 and be free bowling and build from there and get the room to build. We've probably given her held her back at times and made her sprint home, and that's not a go. And we've led at other times and tried to stack them up and then go, and that hasn't worked for us. And I think she just needs to run at her own pace, a good clip, and build up to the line. And Stevie Baster's a genius at judging that pace, and did it so well for us in the Geelong Cup with Runaway during the Spring Carnival, and onto the Melbourne Cup we went, and he's the man for this job, and hopefully we can get it done. But I've watched a few of the Telegraph's the renditions of the Telegraph over the last decade, and I think the style of race will suit her.
Back in the autumn, you took her down to South Australia for the Sangster, and she took on a horse who went on to qualify, of course, for the Everest and Shoals. And look, I thought on that occasion, very, very good. She's obviously a horse who can race up to the top level. Where do you rate her in the sprinters behind those Everest horses? So let's take 12 out of the bunch. Is she in the next bunch behind those?
Yeah, I think she is on a day, and when we get it right, she can be at that very top level. I think she runs really quick time. She really challenges other horses in a race because she can do it at both ends, as we saw in the Standish. And again, we probably got it wrong to a degree in the Standish, and had she have won the Standish, I think she'd come over and be half the odds she is today in the Telegraph. Stevie Baster came back shaking his head after she was so brave. She led them, and she came off the bit. She got challenged, and then she found again and got beaten, I think, 3/4 of a length or whatever it was in the end. And he came baid shaking his head. He said, whose idea was it to put the earmuffs on? Because she was asleep at the halfway mark, and with the whip rules, he said he was really hamstrung. He had to really shake her up and let her know she was in a race, and suddenly she worked that out, and she went again, and you'll see her surge late to the line and make a race of it again. And he said, well, we know that they come off for the Telegraph, so there'll be no earmuffs today, and she'll know she's in a race, right from the get go. And I think she'll really, have a few of your sprinters in an uncomfortable space, sort of at the 400 metre mark, and hopefully she can skip clear and get it done.
Mate, we know it was a massive recent week at the sales, the Magic Millions there on the Gold Coast. For those of us who have any money left, Anthony, I'm not sure if you do or not, do we go ribeye? Race 6 at Flemington today. It's in your colours again. Looks a horse who is at least not the worst of the chances. Ollie is on. It's $13 in the markets. What's the play, yes or no?
Yeah, you've done your homework there, Mickey. He's a terrific old horse for us. It's a group of guys. There's myself and Clint in the ownership, and Mark Young, who runs our pre-training centre, and Fred Humphrey, who shout out to Fred if he's watching. He's having a tough time. He's got his adult son is quite sick at the moment. So if there's racing God shining down, we'll be in it a long way. But all I can tell you is that he's trialled really well leading up to this, first up run. Ollie asked to ride him after giving him his last jump out. He said, "Well, I'll go wherever you want to go on this next time. When you're first up." He is a horse that's runs well when he's fresh, and he's drawn 3. He'll get the ideal run, and from the 1400 at Flemington, that's important. So why not? If you're winning, each way you're winnings all day long. So can run well.
Anthony, thanks for your time this morning. She's a lovely big girl by Exceed and Excel out of a Zabeel mare with her sort of size and that sort of breeding. She's going to make a valuable broodmare, True Excelsior. Let's hope today just embellishes that. Good luck in the Telegraph coming out of Trentham.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that.
Anthony Mitham from Rosemont Stud. Of course, those colours we know so well, the colours carried by Volk, Stock and Barrel. We're going to take a break, go put the jug on because we have plenty more racing coming up and plenty more potentially winning opinions. On the other side of this break, a man with a huge hand at Trentham today and a little one at Gore, Sean Ritchie.
Accept and let me go, 'cause it could have been you. Hey. Just had to hesitate. Could have been you. Hey. But you were too afraid. Could have been you. Hey. Just had to hesitate. Had to investigate you. But you were too afraid. You couldn't keep the faith, yo.
As the Wheelfield New Zealand Oaks come around the home corner, 500 metres to go. Adeline still in front, tries to boot away on them as well. From Posavina, Platinum Princess, Miss Sharapova keep the piece to the outside, putting in, and Eileen Dunbar's coming with them, and a chance to Dream getting right up on the inside. Keep the piece, ranged up on the outside of Miss Sharapova, and then a chance to Dream. Zarsweiler out of the pack with November Rain. Keep the piece! Keep the piece in front. Zarsweiler flying with November Rain. Keep the piece hanging on. Yeah, win the Oaks. Keep the piece has got it from very close. November Rain or Zarsweiler.
Yeah, just a tremendous filly, you know. We've always really rated her, and just to see her do that today, she ran in and got to the front perhaps a little early, but geez, he's a great jockey, Opie, and what a great season we're having, and some really wonderful horses in the stable.
He knows how to win a big race at Trentham, does Sean Ritchie, of course. He's won the New Zealand Oaks on 2 occasions and he has major hands in both the Wellington Cup and the Thornton today. He joins us on the line from Trentham. Good morning to you, Sean. It's a big day. Do you get a bit nervous on these days or are you always just smiling, Shawnee?
I think if you don't get a little bit nervous, you're not human. You have to be on your toes, and everybody wants everything to go smoothly. And there's no better feeling than, as you probably heard in the emotion in my voice, just in that previous Group 1, that Oaks. No bigger game than Trentham when the Group 1s are out. So that's what we're all here to try and do.
Excalibur is in the 2-mile Wellington Cup. That's a crucial factor today, Sean. How do you think he'll cop 2 miles? Because these days, it's a distance we probably don't see enough of in this country. He's the favourite or equal favourite for the race against a horse who has proven over the 2 miles. Last year it was a dawdle. Often, Sean, it can be a hard run 2 miles at Trentham. How do you think your fella's going to cop it if it becomes a hard run one today?
Well, if you watch the Auckland Cup, it probably doesn't look that pretty. He got on the bit a little bit. He'd gone through the grades that prep, and he ran in the Auckland Cup not in a handicap and a set weights and penalties, and was very poorly off on the weight scale on that occasion. And he got on the bit a little bit. Now, he's had wind surgery, this horse, and we're only just starting to work out now that the best way to ride him is cold, because obviously horses who grab their breath or have wind problems often need to be just taken back, allowed to get through their paces, and then pick up. So I suppose the biggest issue today will be riding him cold and just how far back he'll be and how big a start he'll be giving Bizwinkle and Prince Shabil and those sort of horses up there. But he's got that little bit of a weight edge on them, and he's got a very good tactical jockey in Jason Liddell. If you go back through the previous Wellington Cups, they quite often pack up a bit from the 1,000 metres through to that 500-metre mark. And if he can get on the back of the right horse going forward and be handy on the corner in an attacking position, then he has been set for this race. And he has had a couple of little hiccups on the way, and but we feel we've got him right here today. He's been to the Waitangi Beach and he's been to carry me around, so he's going to think Jason Liddell's a feather when he gets on his saddle tonight. But he's been walking in the water up to his knees and all his joints are nice and cool, so he's nice and ready today.
That hardly sounds fair, carrying you around, Sean, but we'll touch on that another day. Excalibur 6 last time, we just showed the video coming out of the City of Auckland Cup. I thought it was okay, but Sean, I'll put this to you as bluntly as possible, because money's money and affection's another thing altogether. Does sometimes when he gets into situations he doesn't like, can he be a horse who sulks a little bit? Is he a horse who likes things to be his way?
Look, I think that's probably not unfair. He got a nasty stone bruise through part of the spring, and most horses would shake it off, and he took a little longer to get over it. So he's probably not the bravest, and he does prefer to run his race with some room. If he gets held up or he gets moved across on, or he's got to be ridden for a little bit of luck, sometimes he always doesn't split off that leg quite as good. Having said that, he's he is in superb order today, and if he's in a position where he can make a full 1,000-metre run, he comes through the grades, taking off 1,000 out, attacking on the corner, and keep running to the line. And that particular City of Auckland Cup was, once again, tactical error, I feel. We chased him out of the gate from a good draw, and it simply doesn't work for this horse. So each time we've ridden him out of the barrier, he just hasn't rounded his races off quite the same. So I think possibly if you look at one or two of his earlier runs this prep, he looks a much stronger chance than perhaps the last one. But we'll fix that by riding him cold this afternoon.
You talk about riding horses cold, Sean. One of your other major chances for the day is Sultan of Swing. He is barrier 1 in the Thorndon Mile. Look, he made enormous ground up in the Rich Hill. He was probably the run of the race of those in behind the place getters. Any chance, as we look at this video here, him coming from last in the Rich Hill, any chance today that Mickey Coleman can take advantage of barrier 1 and maybe ride him a lot closer, which on last week's Trentham form might be the place to be, Sean?
Absolutely. Look, this horse is probably one of the few in the race who has won an open sprint and can race up outside the leader in an event like that. So being handy from barrier 1 is key to his chances today. In the Rich Hill Mile, he drew, I think the marble come out at 21, so he was one of the widest horses in the race, and we were forced to ride him cold. We were also testing whether he could run the mile out, and I felt that he made a lot of ground up in the straight, and from gate 1, he's going to get a very economical trip, if not the run of the race. He's likely to be in the trail or 3 back, and he can sprint off his legs. So I think he's big overs, this horse, and I think he should be paying a lot less than he is, and he's certainly going to get that economical trip where he's a very good place bet at $5 something a place.
On to the last on the card, and the Juro Cup has for a long time been one of those races which these sort of horses are aimed at, surely. These days, probably not as much as it used to be. The stake isn't greatly different from most rating 82 type races, but you come in beautifully here with Owen Patrick, because not only do you have 54.5, you're taking 3 kilos off with a rider, Sean, who's probably not really a 3 kilo claimer. Wirramu Pin, or Billy Pin as they call him, is way better than that. So you've got a big advantage here. Carrying 51.5, what chance in the last for Owen Patrick?
Well, look, that's the key to his chances, isn't it? I think it's a very good booking, as for the reasons you just said. He's an on-pace horse. He'll come across and be in the first 3 or 4. And it's just hard to know how good or not good, I suppose, this horse is. He seems to do enough, and we just don't know how much petrol's in the tank. This is a jump up in grade, but it's a significant drop in weight. And he showed us a lot of promise as a 3-year-old and raced against some of the better 3-year-olds, but he was just a little bit weak in running 4th and 5th and not quite rounding his races off due to a lack of physical strength. He's got that now, and his form suggests that he's got through the grades well. And as you quite rightly say, the Juro Cup's always been a good pointer to the Thorndon Mile next year. Down here in Wellington, and it'd be nice to have this horse in that style of race next year. And I guess we're here to find out how good he is this afternoon.
Mate, good luck at Trentham today. You also got one down there at Gore. Fox in Socks is in the Gore Guineas, and quite clearly, Shorty, I'm thinking you're getting down there looking for some black type with the daughter of Ifraj. Barrier 11, doesn't look great, doesn't look terrible. It's sort of in the middle of the pack there somewhere. Is it a case of a throw at the stumps as we look at her win 2 starts ago, or is she a genuine black type filly and therefore this is a stepping stone to maybe something better?
Well, we've had a little bit of success by taking some well-bred fillies to chase some black type in the South Island. We had a So You Think filly, Global Thinking, went down and won the Southland Guineas last year, and this has been very much this filly's target. We just feel she's probably a length or two off the better fillies up north, and it's a good opportunity for her. Having said that, she was very fat in the first run down there, and she got tired the last little bit and showed a lack of fitness. But that's aimed at trying to get through the series and making sure that she's peaking at the right time. I feel the Southland Guineas might be the right race for her. I think she's always hit the line well when she's been ready, certainly her first 2 starts, and thinking the mile will really suit. So, I'm expecting her to run well today, but her main target will almost certainly be the Southland race in Invercargill.
Sean, I know it's a busy morning. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. If I text you earlier today, Sean, and we weren't on TV, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Peter Locke, and I said, Shawnee, I need a winner. I'm out of cash. It's been a tough start to 2019. What would you text me back?
You sound like you're talking about my whole 2018 out of cash. Mate, I would tip you into Sulphur Swinger Place. I just think he's going to get that run that's going to be economical for him, and I think he's going to look a serious chance, certainly at some point in the straight, and he's probably the value. And I do like Take It Like a Man a little bit at Tirapa tomorrow if things go badly today for everybody.
Good on you, Sean. That saved me a text. Mate, good luck today at Trentham and at Gore. Sean Ritchie joining us to talk about his chances. Sultan of Swing, his best value option at $5 a place. Plenty more coming in from Trentham and Gore this morning, but for now, we're going to take a small break, come back on the other side and have a quick dip across the Tasman to see if there's a winner later in the day.
Gonna push it harder, gonna climb up higher. It's like I just can't miss.
Meetings coming out of Flemington and Rose Hill on the eastern seaboard in Australia. If you're getting through the day and you're looking for winners from other venues, of course, only the 2 domestic gallops meetings today. Ben Ascari from racing.com is going to join us to talk us through Flemington. Good morning to you, Ben. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well, Michael. Great to be with you.
Staying race is the second on the card out of Flemington. Lycurgus has Damien Oliver aboard, and you're thinking there's an early chance for us to make some money.
Yeah, it's been well found in the market, sort of open around the $2.20 mark, has been well supported. I think into about $1.80, $1.90. Hopefully we can get back out to black figures around race time, but I think this horse is going to be really hard to beat. He bumped into a pretty smart one last time out in Etymology, was beaten a fair way, but had the rest of them covered, and I think will be better for having had that first run beyond 2,000 metres this preparation. He did have a little gap between runs going into that race off a setback, and he's got further improvement to come and finds a very moderate race today. So they missed the Bagot, another clash with Etymology in favour of this race, and I think he looks pretty tough to beat. The jockey, Damien Oliver, was on fire at Flemington last week, and then he backed it up with a treble at Sale, so he seems to be hitting some good form, and the trainer's in some really good form, Danny O'Brien, in the past month or so. So short, but hopefully sweet to kick things off in the second race of the day at Flemington.
Tracks rated good there, Ben. A lot of talk in Victoria at the moment about tracks and track watering and whether they're too hard, and there's a lot of people who have very emotive feelings on these issues. Is a good track at Flemington at the moment similar to a good track, for example, in November? What's going on with the tracks over there, Ben? Because we've seen a couple of tracks this week, Wednesday in particular, I thought, for the Twilight, where they seem to have watered them and they seem to be maybe racing just a little bit duller than they do in, say, November.
Yeah, I think it's just this week. So there's been so much talk about the track debates, and the current policy had been to kick them off a good 4, but do the majority of the meeting as a good 3. Now, what that's meant is, with tracks like Flemington and Caulfield, because they drain so remarkably well, by the end of the day they can be quite firm, and this has sparked a lot of debate. Some trainers, Darren Weir, etc., have said they would prefer tracks to be the majority of the day in the good 4 range. And without having been an official change of policy, I think just with so much talk around and some saying it's a horse welfare issue, it seems to have pressured some of the track managers into putting a lot more water on. It's been compounded by the fact that we've had very, very warm weather in Victoria this week. So there's been a lot of water put on the tracks from sort of Wednesday to Friday. Racing.com Park Pakenham Thursday night was soft 5 upgraded to a good 4. The inside was off. Ararat was a good 4 downgraded to a soft 5, despite it being 37 degrees pre-race 1. So they've put a lot of water on that racetrack. And a similar story at Cranbourne, downgraded to a soft 5 despite there being no rain because they've put so much water on the track. So I think it's a bit of an overwatering issue, which is because of the sheer amount of pressure being put on these track managers this week with the debate. So Flemington should be okay. Good 4 at Flemington should still race okay, but that's the issue at the moment. People don't want tracks too firm, but we seem to have had a bit of an overreaction and a lot of water being put on these tracks.
Okay, Ben, I know you're keen on Lure Me in race 8 over the 1800 metres. I'll make this incredibly simple for you. It's 2.3. Do we take 2.3 or is that too short?
I think we might get better, but I still think he's a bet at that price. He should have won last start. It was as simple as that. He was way too far back and was beaten in a heads-up, heads-down finish. Luke Curry goes aboard. I think that's a significant jockey change with a senior rider going on. He can probably settle a bit closer. Don't think there's a slight rising distance is any issue for him. He looks a progressive type who's going to be really hard to beat. So hopefully we get a bit better, but I still think he's a bet at that price. Outside of Lycurgus, I think he's the next best bet on the program at Flemington.
Yeah, he was absolutely massive down the outside on this occasion, only just missed. Let's talk about Ben's best for the day. And Ben, we've got Lycurgus and Lure Me In and a couple of others for a bit of a play at each way odds and big each way odds. Mumbles in the 5th and Streets of Avalon in the 9th.
Yeah, so they're pretty short, my 2 best, so they might be worth multiplying up, Lycurgus and Lure Me In, or working around those 2, but at a bit of value, the English Dash in one of the features on the program today, race 5, is for a $250,000 race. It's a very moderate field. I know Mumbles was, his form on paper doesn't look that good, but he didn't run a strong 1400 2 starts ago. Got blinkers first time last start, and I think he's going to be a better horse with the blinkers on. And he was going to win and win pretty easily at Warrnambool and was completely stopped in his tracks, had nowhere to go. So in a fairly moderate race, considering the amount of prize money, I think he's one that's worth an each-way play. I think you'll get around $20. So if you're having more of the place, but something maybe 1 by 3 on Mumbles. And in the last race, I thought Streets of Avalon was really good first up, on speed at Caulfield. I thought he just knocked up a little bit late, but should take plenty of benefit out of that run. Slight rise in distance, second up 1,200 metres, perfect. And he crucially draws a wider barrier, which is so important down the straight 6 at Flemington. So I've got a lot of respect for the favourite. I was keen to back the favourite, Langro, in this race today, but she has not been missed. I think he's almost got to the point now where he's overbet because he's got that star fall form, which is such a premium at the moment. So I think the play in the race might be Streets of Avalon on an each-way basis. He's double figures. I think he's a much better chance than that.
Ben, thanks for your time this morning. Good hunting at Flemington today. Ben Ascari from racing.com joining us there with 4 to follow out of Flemington. Off to New South Wales where Rose Hill is the venue this afternoon. And track's good and rails in the true position. So I haven't been to Rose Hill for a couple of weeks and it's 27 degrees. So you'd expect they're going to be up and running early doors and they're going to be up against the rail and that's going to be the place to be. One of the better races of the day is the second on the card. We see some talented 3-year-olds whose connections are probably wondering whether they have horses who can head to black type races once the off-season racing, as they call it, starts to turn and we start to get into the February and the March racing. We're going to ask Brad Gray about one of those, Lunenburg, in the second on the card by I Am Invincible, who was one of the stars last week of that Magic Millions sale at the Gold Coast, which turned over some rather staggering money. Brad, good morning to you. It looks a beautiful day in Sydney.
Yeah, good morning. It's a little bit overcast at the moment, but it's having a fine and sunny day, which seems to be a bit of a pattern at the moment. had a good run of weather, and it certainly looks to be the case there again at Rose Hill. Ran a good track, the rail and the true. And as we know from Rose Hill, it's generally one of the fairest tracks in Sydney. So depending on tempo, I think every runner should certainly get their chance.
Lundberg looks a horse in the second on the card, Brad, who has a future. The question for the connections will be, like many of the 3-year-olds this time of the year, do we have a horse who can race in good black type races? If it's going to be the case, would need to be winning today, even from barrier 7.
Yeah, he certainly looks to be a progressive type of horse. I think he slipped under a few punters' radars there first up. He won at midweek and won with a little bit of authority, but there was no denying his victory there last start. He put a space on them. He slipped home in some good time. And looking at this field, I know a lot of punters out there, including myself, you see a favourite, and the first thing you like to do in these markets is look for an immediate danger, something with a bit of value to beat it. But when you simply can't find one, you just end up backing the favourite. And although when I did the form, I think he was about $2.50, he came into $2.20, and he's very skinny quote now. But I think it's a type of horse that punters can certainly anchor a few multis around. So I'd be surprised if he just doesn't win. He's up 1.5 kilos from last start, and he has to take on 4-year-olds instead of just the 3-year-olds. But it doesn't look to be a great deal of depth to this field, so he should just come across in the wide draw, sit outside the leader, and be far too good for his rivals. And as you touched on, I think he's a horse destined for some listed or Group 3 company in the not too distant future.
Brad, your best of the day is Sweet Scandal in the 6th on the card, and Robbie Dolan's doing a super job. He's claiming 2 kilos, so he's lost his 3. He's back down to a 2. He's one of those riders at the moment we see quite a bit of in Sydney, Brad, where once these claimers get their confidence up and he rides like a confident kid, gee, those claims are a big help.
You're 100%. You're 100% right. And the beauty about this is he can ride so light. He can get in at 49 kilos. So not only is he getting these rides at the top of the weight and bringing runners like this one, Sweet Scandal, down a little bit, but he can also ride those featherweights and get them down even further. So it's not uncommon to see him going around with 49 kilos in City at the moment, and that's why he's getting so many rides. He's only a couple behind Sam Wesley. I know a lot of people out there would have thought there was a foregone conclusion the apprentice title in Sydney, but Robbie Dolan's making a good run of it. He's certainly going to keep your boy Sam Wesley honest there at the top. As far as this horse goes, though, really good winner there last start. Chris Waller said in the post-race after it won that they just fell into the trap. They're just riding it a little bit too pretty. She responds better to an ugly ride. She likes to be sought out at the start, get her rolling on top of the speed, and then she can come home in good time. That seems to suit her best. That was the case there last start. Her last 600 metres was pretty quick, and if she does that again here, she does look to map particularly well. The Pharaoh will come across with her, but I can't see that horse giving it too much trouble, so it should sit second in the run. Slip home, a firm track certainly suits her, and I can see her, like we said about Lundberg, eventually running in black type races. So although she's got a good record already, I think there's still a couple of wins in her before she reaches her limit. So that's Sweet Scandal, race 6, number 2. The other runner on the card, and I've picked out a couple of shorties there, I think we can get a bit more value out of this one. It's race 9, we'll have to wait all day. Reflectivity for the Hawks team. He was a little bit disappointing there last start, but I'm going to forgive that run. It was a little bit out of character for him. Prior to that, he'd been in career best form, and it was a benchmark 94 there last start. He drops back to a 78 company, much more to his liking, and he gets back onto Rose Hill, where all of his runs prior to that flop last start, which was at Randwick, had been. So Rose Hill, 1,500 metres, certainly right up his alley. We've got another apprentice on board, and he's going well as well, young Brock Ryan. He'll bounce the gelding out, settle in the first couple, and he should get his chance there. He's around the $6.50, $7 quote at the moment, and I think that's a good gamble to keep up your sleeve there in the lucky last. That's race 9, number 1, Reflectivity.
Thanks for your time, Brad. Good shopping today out of Rose Hill. Brad Gray from Sky and, of course, Racing New South Wales. That's it. We have spoken to some experts. Shortly, we head to the capital, trying to seek some capital on the big day out of Trentham.
Darcy Brahma goes up, hits the lead. Sea Change fights him hard on the inside. Darcy Brahma's in front of the Telegraph and drawing away. And Darcy did it brilliantly. Applaud the great mare as she guns away for her 6th Group 1 victory. And outstanding. She's really dealt with them, Sea Change.
Every time I knock down.
Mufasa in first command and Copaline. Mufasa, he did it 2 years ago. He'll do it in 2011. Mufasa's got the prize.
So heaven don't feel me now.
Atomic Force hard up against the aluminiums. The leader shows out 8 shillings. Here's Josephina. She's really releasing. She is flying on the outside. Range up and gets the Telegraph.
gonna live forever. Right now, the best part's what we don't know. Take a little step into the unknown. Everybody's trying to tell me no, no. I wanna bless the rains and dance away like Toto wherever I go. Got no plan, just gonna see where I end up and do what I can and see how far I stretch my luck. 'Cause now that it's all behind.
The scene of the big dance, or should that be the big dances out of Trentham today, and the dance floor looks very good. Will it play to the inside or the outside? Let's find out from two men who should know. Brendan Popplewell and Bevan Sweeney are sitting by. And B-Pop, I know you love a big race meeting, but I'm thinking today you might have been trumped, because for you, Wellington Cup Day probably means even more to the man sitting next to you.
Yeah, too right, Michael. And yeah, look, we've certainly shared a lot of good Wellington Cup memories between us as well. And I think we're in for a special day as well here, Michael. Everything's in readiness, and yes, we're here nice and early as well. And it should be packed to the gunnels by the time we get to our feature race. Of course, it is not at the Group 1 level, but it is all about Wellington Cup Day here this afternoon. And yeah, that's the feeling we get here today, Bevan, with the fields stacked the way they are. We're in for a great day.
Yeah, it should be an amazing day. Better than Christmas for me, because I have to pay for Christmas with a couple of young kids. So this really is a special day for me, coming out of the Central Districts, now living down this part of the world. It's just a sensational day of racing with all the group races across the program. As good as it gets down this way, and we've got a great Telegraph field this afternoon. Thornton's very even. The Cup, well, it was very, very even. We have had a late scratching there, unfortunately, and condolences to Howie and Lorraine, with Sampson coming out of the Cup with a bruised foot. So that's unfortunate, but gee, we've got a day of racing ahead, BP. Can't wait.
We certainly have. We've got 10 races to be able to get through here this afternoon, with 4 races at the black type level, 2 of them Group 1, of course, that being the Thornton and the Telegraph, and then we have 2 at the Group 3 level, that being the Wellington Cup and also the Desert Gold for the 3-year-old fillies. Out on the track is Aidan Rodley.
Hi guys, yeah, out here on the racetrack where obviously we saw a massive performance in last week's Group 1 Levin Classic, taken out by Madison County. Today, a Group 1 day where we see the running of the Telegraph, sponsored by the Burkitts, and also the Harcourt's Thornton Mile. A couple of really great events. And last week we had a bit of a breeze coming over our shoulder, tailwind, and it did take effect a little bit. We're going to find out a little bit more about the track through Kim Trueek, the track manager here at Trentham. You know, the rails in the same position. It seems to only minimal wear and tear from last week. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. We were fortunate to be able to leave the rail where it was. As you say, minimal damage. So it was just a bit of repair early in the week, and you know, monitoring our water and things like that, really. So
tell us a little bit about the water. Have you had rainfall, or is it just irrigation that's gone on?
We've been lucky and had a bit of both this week. We put 12 mil on after the races on Saturday night. Then we had 19 mil of rain on Sunday, Monday. And then we sort of just sat on our hands for a couple of days and put 16 mil on Thursday night, and we think that's put us in a pretty good spot for today.
Okay, yeah, expectations on how it's going to play today, Kim?
Oh, very similar to last week, and you know, there's that little bit of wear on the inside. You know, it did play towards the inside last week. It might be a little more even today. No reason why it shouldn't be, and wouldn't expect it to be any advantage or disadvantage wherever you are on the track.
Okay, we're seeing a little bit of cloud cover here. Sounds like the rain's going to stay away, but it sounds like the wind's going to pick up later on this afternoon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've already seen a little bit of that, and we are expecting to get a bit stronger through the day. In saying that, it's not as warm as it has been, so that's good. That'll sort of won't drag the moisture out for now. So yeah, looking forward to a really good day's racing.
Yeah, good on you. Love coming to Trentham, and good to see you again, Kim. Best of luck for today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Kim Trueek joining us here out on the track. Let's move further out wider, and if it is getting up to gale force later on this afternoon, they could be running like 105, 106 times in this Telegraph. First of all, Alicia Collett, welcome along to the coverage. The inside, we saw it playing a little bit inside, and Kim referred to that in his interview just before. What would your reaction be as a jockey about playing it this week, coming in fresh? fresh?
I do think the track will play very similar to last week. He said exactly probably what I was thinking, that there will be a little bit of wear and tear on the inside. And with the wind up, you can see them coming from a little bit further out today, I do believe, and really coming home in some strong sectionals. It's going to be tough, though, to make ground up. The ones in front, they'll be running home 33s, 34s, and they're going to have to be very impressive to get over top of that.
You said that last week as well when we talked about that tail wind. You said it's going to be hard for them to cut down. Does it make a difference to you if you're riding a race and the pace isn't strong? Do you inject it in there, or how do you sort of react to it as a jockey?
Yeah, I do believe that's a big factor, is when the pace is eased, that you really want to go forward and put the pressure on. So the final 400-500 metres, you're there in the finish, running those sectionals home. But a big thing with a big wind like this, leading down the back straight there, you're doing twice as much work when you're in front, and that really can take the edge off you in the finish. So that's something that maybe these jockeys are going to have to think about today. But obviously the first couple of races we'll really find out how the track's playing.
Yeah, you've had a little bit of a wander. What was your reaction to it?
It's come through last week's racing very well. You can hardly tell that they've raced on it. Lush surface, and I mean with the wind around, it's going to dry up a little bit. Probably be a good 3 sooner or later, but I mean the track looks immaculate.
Okay, a couple of little testers for you before we get you back to the boys. You're on Melody Bell. You've been Jamie Richards has put you aboard Melody Bell from barrier 18. How do you play it?
I think you should ride it like the best horse in the race. There will be speed from out wide, and I think if you're striding right from the barrier rise, follow Ferrando across, and you know if she's good enough, she should be able to do it from that end as well as the back end.
Okay, and what's the highlight? Is there a horse that you may be most looking forward to, or a highlight on the day for you, Alicia?
Probably would be Melody Bell. I mean, she's a class performer, she's a class act, and I really just want to see her win against this field, which we know she's capable of. And I mean, they've thrown a spanner into the works with the barrier draw, and it's something that I really want to see how it plays out.
Yeah, so that's Alicia's thoughts, Kim's thoughts here on a Group 1 day of racing here. Starting to build up a crowd here at Trentham this afternoon. The facility's sold out. There's going to be a buzz here, and there's going to be a rapid time coming down the straight in the JR&N Burkett Telegraph.
Yeah, nice work, team. And yeah, there is the latest from out on the track. Well, Mike, we'll pass it back to you as we set up this race day now.
Let's get down to business with the market movers for the first on the card. And really tricky one, Thad, because most of these horses haven't raced each other. There's not many distinctive form lines where you can say, well, this bet that. So you guys have ended up with Maria Dior as the favourite over the stablemate in Satulagi.
Yeah, exactly, Michael. Maria Dior, $3.60, Satulagu, $4.40. Look, of the two Patrick Campbell runners, it is Maria Dior that is taking most of the money, but we have seen a move in this middle market around the likes of What's a Smasher and a horse that Bevan Sweeney will know a little bit about, and that is Time's Ticking. I think they're still celebrating there, the Punters Club there at Te Hiranikau after Time's Ticking won on debut. Very impressive green. But boy, oh boy, looks like it's got stack loads of ability. So I think $7.50 was the opening line around Time's Ticking, now $5. So it's a pretty evenly spread race, but certainly the tip again is not going to become a very popular horse in a short period of time if Time's Ticking wins the first, Michael.
In a small field down the Dog League 1200, the speed map may not be as important as some of the other races for the day, but we are thinking they could pan out something like this, Brendan Popper. Well, I thought an intriguing contest because, as I said to Thad, a lot of these horses have no form lines through each other.
That's right, they don't, Michael. And look, horses like What a Smasher, I've really been impressed with what a Smasher has been able to do. And even though drawn the outside gate as a horse who has shown speed to be able to go forward as well, and potentially that could happen. The two Felix Campbell trained runners are the runners of interest here, Bevan, that we want to talk to you about. Satulagi and also Maria Dior. They both come in with very good wins next to their name.
Well, I think Satulagi was the one that Felix originally thought was the better of the two, but Maria Dior has just continued to develop and has become physically more of a racehorse and mentally more of a racehorse. Now, this is Satulagi at Awapuni, so there's a break in between runs, and he was really put to this day. He'd been treated very kindly before this, and this was the day to make a man of him, and Jonathan really rode him like a racehorse, and he would have learned a lot out of this, but it would have also taken the sting out of him. The form behind him's pretty good. There's Vincent running home strongly as well, and look, you go right back to his first race day start. He was beaten by Hypnos, and not by a big margin on that day as well, so he's a very talented horse. Look, I have to tell you that Jonathan had the choice between Satu Lagi and Time's Ticking. Now, he chose Time's Ticking, but he did say to me when making that decision, I think Satu Lagi can beat Time's Ticking today, but he just liked Time's Ticking as the horse going forward as we bring this to you. Now, he doesn't know a lot, this horse, does he? Once he gets across heels, he tries to duck in behind Bella on a couple of occasions, but once the crowd started roaring, he got up outside him and just put him away really softly. He's a pretty nice horse going forward.
Yeah, clearly very raw when winning this race, but there's something under the bonnet as well at the same time, and interesting to hear that there has been that sprinkling of money for the horse again.
Well, I think he's a really progressive horse. That said, BP, I have gone with What a Smasher. Race day experience a lot over the 1,200 metres down the chute here at Trentham. I've loved what this filly's been doing through this preparation. Yes, she's had a couple of misses through this preparation, but generally she's put herself there and run some pretty good sectionals. So she's on top over the 5 times ticking. He'll run a race outside of that Satu Lagi. And look, I'm not outside Mr. Moocher. I really like what this horse did on debut on the back of a couple of good trials, and I'm not going to leave it alone at $21. I thought there was an excellent quote around the South Islander.
It was a big win, wasn't it? A horse who covered a lot of ground and still won the race. And I noticed there was some sort of sprinklings of dollars around the horse, a little move from 21s in. But yeah, it certainly is a tricky little race to get things underway the first of the day here, Michael.
At least the dividends will be good, BP. The second of the day is no easier. We have 2 horses vying for favouritism, Thad. One in ScoMo Eagle tends to race back in the field. The other one in Emerald Amor is a horse who races up on the speed. I take it, being a pikey trained horse, Thad, you would have taken some money for ScoMo Eagle.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, Michael. We have ScoMo Eagle. Look, Emerald Amor has been easy. I think both of these favourites, in fact, have eased just ever so slightly. The moves come in the middle market. No Finer Pins, I Am Gracie, and also Darcy Palmer. Darcy Palmer was $11. Now you're seeing $9.50 there. It was coming out of a couple of strong races at Ellerslie. That's the 2 zeros next to its name. But the win prior was very good. No Finer Pins was very good, winning last time on it. And the other one I did mention, I Am Gracie, booming home for second at its last start. So, yeah, it's a tricky race. You probably summed it up in your first sentence there. It's a hard one, but at this stage, the worst way for us is I Am Gracie ahead of Darcy Palmer. So a little bit of movement outside of the favourites in race number 2.
Brendan Popplewell, as we look at the speed map here for the second on the card, one word for you, help, because I'm not sure what's going to happen here.
Yeah, well, I think Benno can certainly hold a position from barrier number 1. May not be the overall lead in the race. I know Darcy Palmer has been an improver, and they're expecting better from the horse today, and hence why you've maybe seen that little nibble around that horse. Has been beaten in a couple of fair races of late as well, has Darcy Palmer. So there looks to be tempo in the race. Look, I do like one in the race, and that is ScoMo Eagle, and the form around it looks strong as well, and this is the effort from last time to the races, Bevan, where the horse did run into 4th position. Second in this race was Tight Line, who won impressively yesterday, and third was the Fame Game, who nearly pulled off a win as well around Tauranga, and he didn't get all favours in behind them here.
This is an excellent run. If it gets back into that sort of position here at Trentham, based on what we saw early on in the program last Saturday, the horse will be in trouble. But I did speak to Dean through the week at New Plymouth, and he did tip this one out as their sort of improver into the race meeting, and one that he really liked as a big winning chance. Look, I wrote what Mick just said when he threw. Speed map is a mess here, so trying to find the right one was very, very difficult for me. The one that I did think would get a really nice run in the race is No Finer Pins. From that gate, does have a little bit of gate speed, and if they do charge across, and we see it here, it should be able to hold a position on the rail, no worse than 3 back the inside, and from there should be given every chance. This occasion, gee, it had to be pretty good to get across the Tottenham at Matter. Had a little bit of luck, got the right splits, and it sort of opened up there for the horse to burst through, but it did burst through when it saw a bit of daylight. So I thought, well, this horse has got to turn a foot with a good draw. So that's the one I landed on, but there wasn't a lot across a hatful in this race.
And that was 72 grade as well.
Yeah.
And comes back to 65.
Absolutely. So. And a young horse, a young mare, only lightly raced. So, yeah, it looks really well suited to my eye.
There's another runner we want to quickly touch on as well, the Swiss Maestro, runner number 3 in the race book. And this is the effort when placing, and this was on Boxing Day around Wingatui.
Big field. Not a bad field as well, the Swiss Maestro. This was after a really good win at Riccarton. That was a nice little maiden race. Carried 54.5 that day, went down to Wingatui, and has only beaten a length and a half. Really got out of its ground. From a middling sort of gate, I thought it'd get cover, midfield, and I'm just not going to disrespect its form coming here to the north because I think it's good enough to be in the mix. I had the 7 no finer pins on top. I thought the 2 ScoMo Eagles, certainly one you could put in your trifectas, first fours, and even back to win. Fibonacci, second up, 56 kilos, good gait. I know it's at 30s, but if he ran up to his best of form, he'd be right in the mix for me. And outside of that, where'd we go after that? We went with the 9 in the book, which obviously brings him some pretty good form lines.
Yep, all right. Yeah, I'm around ScoMo Eagle in the second of the day, Michael, and I thought maybe a chance we could have a little bit on this horse as well, hovering around that 460 mark.
Up to the 2,200 metres for the third on the card. Very even field because we have 3-year-olds, the likes of Platinum Invader, who's still $61 for the Derby, but I think that's overs for him. He's 3.7 here as the favourite, up against a horse like Treasure, who was good enough to be competitive at Oaks level last year at $6. Thad, again, we're seeing varying form lines coming in here. I'm surprised you still have Treasure at $6 because she's tended to be a horse the punters have liked to jump on the past.
They have, Michael. Treasure. Look, coming out of a Dunstan final there at Ellerslie, $6 is a losing result for us again, but sort of has flattered to deceive a little bit in its career. There's been a lot of money on it and is the winner of only 1 from 11 races, but certainly at her best she'd be very competitive in a race like this. Look, the move has been with Platinum Invader. He's going for 3 in a row. He's been $4.20 into that $3.70 quote. But in saying that, the money is quite well spread. Look, Sky Fighter also going for 3 in a row, nothing wrong with him. And Korokanui, who was on the ballot for the Wellington Cup, coming out of a Stratford Cup, obviously a step down in class into this race. At $11, people have a little bit of interest there. That is also a losing result for us. But the movers with Platinum Invader, and look, $61 in a Derby, Michael, if he came out and won today, that would certainly disappear because this is a reasonable field, so might be worth having a little go at that. Look, I have no doubt Treasure will be a losing result for us, and she bought her A game, she'd be right in the finish, but at this stage, Platinum Invader is the shortener in the race.
The tempo is going to be interesting here because if they roll along, Platinum Invader looks a natural over the 2,200 metres. And Brendan Popplewell, I think this might be a horse who's going to turn up in a Derby. I'm not saying he's going to win a Derby, Platinum Invader, but I thought unlucky last time he came to Trentham, has been really good at Otaki since twice. This is a horse who's going to hit the line pretty hard.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a lovely horse going forward, Michael, a son of Redwood. He should relish Trentham 2,200 metres. And yeah, you're on the money there. Look, this runner has made really good improvements since, you know, the stack of money came for it. What was it, 4 starts ago, and then was unlucky here and then got those 2 wins. Yeah, it really has been dominant the last 2. Got in a very difficult position at Otaki last time under Robbie Henham, but the horse got Robbie out of jail here. This is the performance of Skyfighter, though, and Zach Brown at Awapuni. Top of the book here. Pretty progressive type of horse. He was a colt last preparation. He's lost a couple of pounds, and he's come back to the racetrack this time. Unlucky at Awapuni. Good wins, Wanganui. Now, I know this was on a heavy 10, but he's a much better horse than a heavy 10 type of horse. He was good on the dead 6 at Wanganui. When he breezed through the middle, and he just seems to be going to a different level. Yes, he carries weight today, but he's pretty dominant here. And the second horse has got a little bit of ability as well, so he's pretty soft at the line, Skyfighter. I've got him in the mix, but with that weight in this type of field, he's not on top for sure. All right, let's have a look at this next horse, and I know you like this runner, and it was unlucky, I suppose, not to make the field in the Wellington Cup, especially with that late scratching of Sampson. Off with her head. Really been impressed with how this horse won 2 starts ago, and then this effort when finishing 6th here at Awapuni. Yeah, look, she's very, very talented. This particular horse off with the head, I don't know if... this is the Martin Cup, so I don't think... Yeah, no, off with the head went round in the Martin Cup. Might have run a race, but unfortunately, the horse you see there being dominant is really, unfortunately, a late scratching in today's Wellington Cup. So that is sad now. Off with her head, this is one the bookies may just take a lot of money on here late because you've got an apprentice being replaced by Lisa Allpress. She's a horse that needs to be wound up off with her head. She will get that from Lisa. And if there's a horse in the CD coming through the grades that will appreciate the big open wide spaces of Trentham, it is this particular horse. She's unlucky not to get a run in the Cup. And this is Platinum Invader, who was in an awkward position, but he put this to bed very, very quickly. I'm not sure how strong the form is in this race with Deep Blue running second, but the horse is going the right way. He's on top for me. The 10 off with her head. Take as much as you want on the 11s. You're getting value there now that Lisa's aboard it. Skyfighter's going the right way. And look out for the 2 Salsify. Jamie Lee Lupton brings a strong team here today. This horse is good enough to win the Summer Cup.
last season and is second up over a staying trip. A little improve out of that run at Otiki was a good effort as well, but it's a pretty nice sort of race, but he looks the obvious improving horse into the race.
Yeah, I like Platinum Invader as well. I'm just happy to go each way on the 10 and off with your head as Bevan. So you're getting 11s and sort of $3.20, $3.40. Happy to be playing that each way as well.
Okay, see what we did there? We snuck in a little Samson tribute because Samson's out of the Wellington Cup. So we showed you the Martin Cup with Samson because we love the old fella. Just that much. Thaddeus, it's always a tough one for the bookmakers as we get to race 4 to line up unbeaten form. And Broom has had 2 starts for 2 wins, so she could be really, really good, or she may not be really, really good, but we just don't know yet.
No, that's exactly right, Michael. Look, $3.90. Look, if you'd spoken to me yesterday afternoon, I would have said Broom would be a horrible result by now. This market has really started to balance itself out in the last 24 hours. Look, Tinkerlicious was Des Coppin's radio bet this morning. That has taken a fair bit of money. Sagnon there shortened from 11 into 9. That was a winner, good winner on the first day. There's money for Awesome Owl. There's also money for Red Rose Warrior. Star Rossa, there's always money for coming out of a Stratford Cup back to 1400 from 2000. But that's also a losing result for us. So, yeah, I think market, I would have said Broom was going to be all the rage in this race, but certainly in the last 24 hours, that's not the case, and perhaps it's suggesting this is a far more even race than we first initially thought. What I can say, though, Michael, not a lot of money for Belfacino there. The Stephen Marsh train runner. I would expect to see a little bit more. Got all favours last time at New Plymouth and did break through nicely, but just the lack of money is a little bit concerning me. Broom is best bet, yeah, but look out for the likes of Tinkerlicious and Sagnon.
As we head back to the boys on track, Brendan Popplewell, I want you to turn to your right and ask Bevan Sweeney this question. How nice a horse is Broom? His man, Jonathan Parks, is doing the riding. I'm sure he's heard the comments from Jonathan. So what does he make of Broom?
Well, it's definitely a very nice horse going forward. Very competitive racehorse. That nature is what is really taking this horse places, I believe. And I think that speed map indicates to you the chances of Broom. I thought Sagnon will probably go forward again, and Tinkerlicious runs into brick wall after brick wall, so why not go forward, sit outside Sagnon? Good horse. Therefore, Broom's got enough gate speed to sort of sit right in behind them and be in the right spot. This is at Wanganui. Now, there hasn't been a lot for this horse, so Jamie Lee Lupton has just left it alone in the stable, just working along nicely. There was a lot of natural progression for this horse through this performance. Ola Mana has been going great guns post this race. Purawai's ran close up at Wanganui last night. She runs 5th. She was there to be beaten a long way from home, but she's just got heart and wants to be there. She wants to win.
Wow.
So if she gets a bit of cover and she's got natural speed, if there's the improvement required there, she's in the mix, but this is a step up. Man, I'm taken by Vincent today. I went back and watched that open handicap. Ran just as good a time as a very, very good horse, way out of his grade. If he gets a click of luck, he can really run a section. I'm going to throw him in the mix. Outside of that, look, Belfacino's in the mix in the 3 Red Rose Warrior. Just really soft down south, coming back from Hong Kong. So I've got it, and I thought Broom, and then I think Vincent's great value in this market for you.
All right, there you go. Maybe Vincent looking at the each way value. And yeah, I was happy to be marking Broom on top as well. Been really impressed with what I've seen from that horse, especially that last effort that we showed you out of Wanganui, Michael.
Sometimes at this time of the season, guys, we see a horse just arrive on the scene. We've always known that On the Rocks was a good horse, potentially a very good horse. But on New Year's Day at Ellerslie, he arrived with a bang.
Very laid back for a colt, beautiful nature. I think there was a little bit of discussion earlier on about gelding him, but being a colt just gives him a little bit of edge. He's just gives him a little bit more spunk about him. Being so quiet, I think it's really helped him be who he is. He's come on again since his last one. Obviously, he was off for a long time, but he doesn't carry a lot of excess weight. He's very clean-winded, very easy horse to work. He's easy to do everything with.
This preparation, he's shown me an indication that he's a better horse than he was last prep. There's always been ability there, but he's never been much of a track worker. You know, he just does what he has to. But his last few gallops, he's really stepped up to the plate and he's shown us what he's got. His work was very, very pleasing. So looking forward to Saturday.
Mike, obviously, and me, we have a discussion with Jake, and we know exactly where we want to bottom and what else is in the field. But He's not hard to ride. You can put him anywhere, do anything. Most of his racing has been the other way round. He obviously loves Alizé and all his forms there, so a little bit of question mark about going the other way round, but Trentham, lovely track. Don't think it'll be a problem for him.
He's a pretty cool colt to deal with, so as long as I can put him asleep early in the race and save the best for late, but he's easy enough to deal with, and hopefully we get the money.
Pam and Jake talking about the chances of On the Rocks, the favourite for the Thorndon Mile. It's very much a case, like the Telegraph later on, of daddy's sons trying to emulate them. Alamosa won this race, of course, as a 3-year-old. Later on, we have 3 sons of O'Reilly in the Telegraph. He won the Telegraph back in 1997, 22 years ago. On the Rocks, Thad, we know the money's going to come because it came at Ellerslie, but he's up in the weights here, 57. So have punters taken that on board, and that's why the 450 is still there?
Yeah, look, he's been certainly steady, Michael, but in a race like this with the set weights and penalties, a mile, you'd expect the money to be pretty well spread, and it is. Look, the 3-year-old really had some interest, More Wonder down the bottom of the book. We all saw what happened to it on the first day in the Levin Classic. Certainly unlucky. It was Alamosa, I think, was the last 3-year-old to win, or to run in a Thorndon Mile. He won it that year, obviously cold-shouldered by Alamosa, but More Wonder. Look, 550, is that too short for a 3-year-old in this company? He's got 52 kilograms. Look, he's been steady. He was a bit slow to warm up, but I'm certainly seeing the money arrive for him now. And it's really a bit of a jump out to that middle market. We're seeing money for Kalani. Magnum's been well backed after his 4th behind On the Rocks in the Rich Hill Mile. And also Tiptronic is another losing result for us. So, yeah, as you'd imagine, the money's pretty well spread. I see Salt in the Swing is just starting to take off in the last 15 minutes. Michael, I can't imagine why. Look, there's some nice each-way prices in the race. Customers are taking advantage of that, but I'd expect On the Rocks to be a very well-backed favourite by the time we jump this afternoon.
This speed map will be very interesting because over 1,600 metres, if, and it's a huge if, a horse like More Wonder could actually be a bit more aggressive out of the gate, well, then it's got a chance from barrier 3 for Sam Collett. If Brendan Popplewell, the More Wonder with half a brain, turns up, it's going to be a vastly different race. Gee, I love these big mile races. They are punters' paradise.
Gee, it is, isn't it, Michael? There is some value to be found around this market. And yeah, look, you talk about More Wonder, just what type of More Wonder will turn up into the race. And yes, there are favours towards having an investment on the horse with the lightweight and how unlucky it was in the Levin Classic. But what was at the race that More Wonder was really destined to win, and it didn't quite happen, and they're having a shot at the stumps today. Look, against some very hardened horses, and as you said, More Wonder is a runner, Bevan, that has certainly, shown a few tendencies to do things wrong in its races.
Yeah, Mick made the statement, if half a brain turns up, then he's more than likely going to be very close to it. But, gee, flew to places at Alizé. Maybe he's just this way of going. This horse, he seems to be a little bit more tractable here at Trentham. Look, would he have beaten the winner? Oh, that's still up in the air. Really would have gone very close, though. I think the winner had a little bit more to offer. But, gee, didn't have a lot of favours, More Wonder, on this occasion when Espresso Martini was leading up and really faltered out of the race. You've got this horse just in behind them now. I understand with the way the inside have been playing, Lisa waited for a gap, but maybe just should have come to the outside a little bit earlier. Lincoln Falls was quickening nicely, so was Hypnos, and you see the winner there, Madison County, through the centre, but, gee, stretched late, didn't he? So he's going to love the wide open spaces of Trentham if he gets to the outside. I think that's going to be the key to him. He's drawn an inside gate. If he jumps away, he's right in the mix, but you flip of the coin, heads or tails if he's going to jump away. If he did, it'd make it really interesting. Sometimes he jumps away and then just pulls his block off as well. Really isn't kind on a young rider riding light, so he's in the mix, but gee, it's tough for a 3-year-old to win this race.
Look, there's a lot of if, buts and maybes, isn't there, around this horse, and it's a Group 1 and you're taking $5.50, so the decision is purely up to you when you want to be taking that quote or not around More Wonder. Off the back of that, gee, you'd be saying yes, please, but as we've just spoken about, there is, still a few other tendencies there as well with More Wonder, which makes this race intriguing because we're going to go to On the Rocks now, Bevan, and this horse was beautifully placed to win the Ritual Mile and was backed accordingly as well with the weight relief and where it was sitting. Today, this is this is a different ball game today, isn't it, for On the Rocks?
Well, I think the connections will love me because I left it out last time at 1. I've left it out again, so it's more than likely going to be right in the mix. It was a wonderful run. The money came. They got it right on the top of the head, really. Delivered nicely. Goes up in weight, not an overly big horse as they've spoken about on a couple of occasions. And maybe this way of going niggles me. The weight niggles me a fraction. When I look at a couple of other runs in this particular race, and the one that I really like at odds is the horse running second there in Tiptronic. Look, this horse has been destined to win a big race for a long period of time in my mind, and I just get the feeling today is going to be this horse's day at $17. I think that's an outstanding quote. It will be my best value on the program. On its run, if it gets any sort of run close to On the Rocks, it'll beat it this afternoon, in my opinion, with the weight and this way of going.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really am. Look, to be honest with you, it's almost a video you need to look at again because of some of the horses in behind. Sultan of Swing was good. Was flashing in behind them. So look, there's a number of good runs out of that race to take on board. Obviously, the winner of the race being On the Rocks, but where Tiptronic comes from, I mean, gee, that's a massive run to finish into second spot. The Mitigator was in that race, a horse who can be a part of the speed as well. Yeah,
I think the Mitigator goes forward. I thought Contessa, Vanessa, Magnum would also more than likely put themselves on speed. Authentic Paddy's an interesting horse in the race. Has he got enough to muster early and put himself in a nice spot from a good gate, or does he just get lost for a bit of speed and then if the speed comes out of it, Robbie will be off and gone on Authentic Paddy? He's been very good here at the mile, Authentic Paddy, hasn't he? Although we sort of look at him as a 2,000 metre horse here over the mile, probably runs like 1,800 metres, and he's right in the mix. Look, I put the 10 on top, Tiptronic. Love the price. Think this is the horse to beat for mine today. Then we're going to bring you Windspiel because, look, it was hard to ignore last Saturday, Windspiel in the anniversary after being held up. Sectionally home, it was outstanding. Sapira got a beautiful run up the inside, sort of put a couple of links on Windspiel, but the horse just really let down nicely late. If he got clear, I think they would have run pretty close together. So that's in for second. Outside of that, I'm going to go with the 16 More Wonder. If he jumps away, he's in the mix. And look, if Darscape Princess brings her A game, and I'm not sure she has been at her A game across this preparation, if she's to jump, put herself there, she's well capable of winning this Thorndon Mile.
Yep, well, I'm going to run with you as well, Bevan. I'm going to mark Tiptronic on top as well. I thought this runner has been destined to be winning a big race. He's always shown that ability. And I think last time to the races, he showed that with his placing in the Ritual Mile. I'm happy to be backing him at a quote of $18. Yeah, I've got Windspell in the mix as well, and yeah, More Wonder. It's a hard horse to leave out, but yeah, I just don't want to be backing it probably at $5.50. Intriguing race, a lovely race to be betting into, Michael.
Sure is. These big miles always tend to be so, from one good 3-year-old and More Wonder to another potentially very good 3-year-old in Lord Arthur. Get ready for the love fest because here it comes. It's going to come from Thad Taylor. It's come from the punters already. It's about to come from Brendan Popplewell because I know he loves this horse, Thaddeus. There's always one who they punt on the big days. Today, it's Arthur.
Yeah, I don't know if love's going to be the feeling I'm feeling if Lord Arthur crosses the line first in race number 6 today, Michael, but boy oh boy, he does look a progressive type. $16 in a derby. If he can run up to that sort of level, the level we think he is already, he should be winning, especially from a good barrier draw there in 3. Look, he was first up at Rotorua over 1,400 metres and he did it easily. You'd expect natural improvement. He's going to be awfully hard to beat, Lord Arthur. We have had some big 4-figure investments, one of $5,000 on Lord Arthur, Michael. So, look, he's probably going to be one of the better back favourites on the day here today. Just looking down the page for anything else, look, Nirvana was good, winning in special conditions on the track, but he's been a little bit quiet, Nirvana. Church Road was good 2 starts ago and a little bit unlucky. There has been a nibble for Church Road. I think opened at $8 into 7. Looking down the page, Effervescence at 30-1 there for a Stephen Marsh. Maybe include that in combinations. I'm seeing a little bit of a sprinkling for Effervescence, and the Alan Sharrock train runner Hoist does have a little bit of support out there at $19. But I have to say this often on TV when I come on. If anything beats Lord Arthur in race 6 today, Michael, will be in a pretty good position, I'd suggest.
The son of Camelot, of course, beautifully bred on the dam side, a half to Bonnevale. And it's not easy coming out of a Rotorua, maiden straight to a Premier Day rating 65, and the speed map at Rotorua would have been a disaster because he came from last. It just did not matter. Brendan Popplewell, you were on track that day and you loved what you saw.
Certainly did. It was hard to ignore, wasn't it, Michael, with what he delivered there out of Rotorua. He is a type that is by Camelot. Gee, we're seeing the Camelots, aren't we? And this horse, as you mentioned, a half to Bonnevale. just got a lot about him. There's a lot to like about this horse, Bevan, with how he's dealt to this field, and you can understand why this horse is gathering a lot of support.
Yeah, he's a little bit green here though, and he really is going up in company, as Mick mentioned there. Look, he's hard to get away from, tipping on top, so I am going to go with him on top. He's got a bit of length about him, a bit of stretch about him, isn't there? He looks a real staying type in the making, so he's on top, but he wouldn't want to get back last and try and circle this field and win. For Church Road, this horse is flying too for Kieran Zimmerman. I thought last start was a little bit unlucky not to be even closer up in it. I've got one for you here, and look, I've mentioned it 2 or 3 times. What's Up? Now, it comes out of a race where it was 3 wide the trip, this horse, and he was only beaten 4 lengths. I've got a lot of time for him, and I know you're probably getting bored of me talking about him, but...
Blinkers on?
Yeah, blinkers on. He was better than Hoist. He was better than Original Gangster in that same race, even being 3 wide the trip. Hoist is at 18, Original Gangster's at 10, he's at 31. I think you can back him to place with a bit of confidence for mine here this afternoon. And outside of that, what about Rusty in Melbourne? Being set for a race like this at 26, I think there's some pretty good value there.
Well, there we go, Michael. Maybe Lord Arthur could say, hey, what's up?
It's going to be the one the bookies are terrified of for the remainder of the day, and of course some multis I'm sure to run through him too. The Telegraph is the big one for the day. It's one of the glamour races on the calendar. This time last year, in fact for the entire season, we didn't have any galloper in the country win 2 Group 1 races. No horse did it. So far we've had 3. Madison County, this horse, Melody Bell, and Dan's Dance have done that. So very much the horse of the year is up for grabs with these dual Group 1 winners. That may not be decided for a couple of months, but today Melody Bell can jump back to the head of that conversation. Here's the young man with the weight of the punters on his shoulders, Jamie Richards, on maybe his stable star.
Genuine racehorse. Every time she gallops, she knows that she's out there to do a job and she wants to put her best foot forward. So, yeah, pretty straightforward, really. She's sort of been back in and worked Saturday, Tuesday, which is sort of her normal program, and her work on the grass on Tuesday was really good. I don't think it's too much about tightening her up, but probably, if anything, we want to try and keep her fresh for another 1200. She probably races like she wants 14, so she's actually put on a little bit of weight, and I think that's important. She's handling her racing really well and eating well. She leaves here the early hours of Thursday night. She'll get down there nice and early and have a day out in the yard at the course, and she's done plenty of travelling and knows what it's all about. I don't think the barrier's such a disadvantage at Trentham. Only got to get around the dog leg there, and horses like Jessipina, you know, they won from the outside, so hopefully she can get a bit of cover and finish off. Probably haven't had anything that's as genuine as her before. You know, every time she goes out there, she just gives 120%. I think that's her best attribute.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. She's an absolutely outstanding mare. Her run on the railway, you'll see in a couple of seconds, was enormous. Thaddeus, any chance that 230 is going to budge? Because I'm waiting, I'm hoping for a 250. Can you help me out, brother?
Not anytime soon, Michael. Pretty comfortable at 230 around Melody Bell. Yeah, look, it's really thrown this race not up in the air by any stretch, but look, if she'd drawn 7, she'd be long odds on here, or well odds on anyway. She was $1.80 when futures markets closed. If she had drawn well, I'm sure she would have certainly remained odds on, probably around that $1.80 quote. So $2.30, it's certainly slowed up the train, which probably I don't think has been a bad thing as far as we were concerned, because it had the chance of heading off the tracks there if she had drawn well into the race. Look, she's clearly the best back runner in singles markets, and saying that, Michael. So look, more than double the next invested on her than the next best back runner, which is actually Prince Oz in the race. So yeah, look, she's still a winning result for us, Melody Bell, but that's not to say that she hasn't been well back. So are we going to see 250? I doubt it. Are we going to see 240 at any point? Maybe. But in saying that, because she was 220 out to 230 and a little bit easy, there has been some movement in this market. Hanger certainly attracted a lot of attention. Michael, when it's resuming win there at Awapuni, very impressive that day. Looks a real horse on the rise, does Hanger. That's been 15 into 11, a really good push there in that middle market. True Excelsior, the Australian Raider, they're 19 into 17, so there has been a nibble, as you'd expect. Obviously, we're hearing those comments earlier from Anthony suggesting that he believes True Excelsior will measure up well in this race. Boy, oh boy, if we get a Southern defending champ win the Telegraph this year, boys. We're going to be in all sorts of strife. Enzo's Lad opened 50s into 40s. That's a diabolical result for us. Signify, who was the winner 2 years ago, has been 60s or 70s into 50s. That's another shocking result. And even down to the likes of Casa Quinman, Sweepstake, Rakanto are all currently losing results. But we will expect this book to balance up a little bit, obviously, in the next few hours. Bostonian's been easy. High Flyer's been steady. And Gift of Power, they did their money there at Ellerslie, back left-handed and a good barrier draw. We're expecting an improved run, but there hasn't been a lot of love for Gift of Power as of yet. It's all about Melody Bell and where she's going to end up in this year's Telegraph.
The speed map could have a lot of horses on the speed, because once they come down the dog leg, there could be 3, 4, 5, or even 6 across the track. 2 of those will be the Rogerson runners. For Rando and Gift of Power love getting up on the nickel and rolling along in front, but this is going to be a lot of fun. Brendan Popplewell, one of 2 things is going to happen here, and we both know this. Either Melody Bell's going to smash them, and after the race we'll just go, well, we should have known she's the best horse in the race, or she'll get beaten, and then we'll say, well, we should have known because they can't win from barrier 18.
Yeah, that's right. That's the conundrum we have, isn't it, of trying to bet into this market and hoping that we get 240 or 250, or if you want to be backing at the moment at $2.30 around Melody Bell. I mean, look, I think 7 days ago, Bevan, we were looking at this race and thinking, gee, she's $1.80 and she's got this field at her mercy, but it's been flipped on its head now with that she's drawn barrier number 18.
I'm just going with the X Factor, the class factor, best horse in the race, probably got 3 or 4 links on them. Great horses overcome bad draws. She almost did it this day. How she got this close to the winner is beyond me. And in saying that, Volpe Veloce's not here was just as good. No, she was back. She had no chance really of getting into this race. Santa Monica just had that 3 or 4 links on her at the top of the straight. She did take a little bit of time to wind up at Ellerslie. So I agree with Jamie. She's probably looking for 1,400 metres, but she's all class. She's a benchmark, and how she got this close from there is an amazing performance, and maybe a couple more bounds she would have got up. Where does she get to from the draw? Well, I thought if your order is the best horse in the race, Ferrando's the perfect horse to come across and sit there and say, well, I'm out here, I'm looking you in the eye, can you beat me? And I wouldn't think they can. But if that doesn't come to fruition, she'll just be looking for cover full wide. And there's going to be a lot of horses caught out in that train, so she should be able to get cover as long as she's close enough as they come across the crossing. I see it very hard for her to be beaten.
What do we do with Gift of Power today? Bevan, a horse who's better this way. We keep coming back to what happened around Awapuni. How much of a chance do we give her this afternoon?
Better chance than I thought she had at Ellerslie. I think she races this way just a lot better. If she runs the time she's capable of, she'll be in the first 3, for sure. But again, it's a little bit like the 3-year-old in the Thorndon. You've got to take her on trust a little bit because at times she's been pretty erratic.
What about Prince Oz? Now, this horse will get a nice sit in behind them. Has won 7 straight. How do you sort of feel about his chances?
Well, his speed map is perfect for him. He is that sort of horse that likes to sit 3, 4 back the fence, get one split, and has put them away. Look, I saw this horse in the CD, and I think he's gone down south and has ended up in a Telegraph. Is amazing. So Neil's done just an amazing job with this particular horse, but he put away a good field with a lot of ease at Ellerslie. I just can't find a spot for him in my first 4, but I can't find a spot in my first 4 for last year's winner, Signify, who I've got a sneaking feeling. I think there's been some hoof issues there, and they think they're on top of that at the present moment. He's got to be in the mix.
High Flyer. What about High Flyer?
Well, I'm putting him in, but I'll be surprised. I'm putting him in because I think he's the horse. Well, I know he's the horse that's sort of taken Melody Bell to a neck over 1,400 metres, and that hasn't been done by many this season. So he's fresh. Whether he's got the early speed to put himself in a position to be able to strike, I'm not 100% sure, but he does race very well fresh. So I went with the 2 Melody Bell. She's the classic. I'm really interested in the Australian, True Excelsior. This horse has got some pretty good form at Flemington, and that should stack up in our sprinting ranks here. And I know it's not a straight 6, it's a bit of a corner to take on here at Trentham, but it won't be too dissimilar. So I've got that in the mix. High Flyer there as well. And yeah, Gift of Power, what was the time at Awapuni? 1:07.46. Well, at Trentham, she's capable of running 1:06 and change, isn't she, down the chute? So if she runs that, look out.
So many questions, Michael Guerin, and they will be answered just after 3:47.
Yep, if you like proper horses and a proper horse race and also a bit of north versus south, Make sure you're in front of trackside at 3:47 this afternoon. One of the other features on the day, and very important race for the standings in the New Zealand Bloodstock Filly of the Year, is the Desert Gold, the 8th on the card. Vallely's the favourite. We haven't seen her since she ran second to Media Sensation in the 1,000 guineas. And a lot of these horses are very much in play because a lot of the horses with good points already in the Filly of the Year aren't going to be contesting the races up to the 2,000 metres and longer once we get there at places like Hastings and Te Rapa and of course the Oaks back here. Where is the money gone, Thaddeus, for the 8th on the card, and are the punters lapping up the 2.6 for Valely because we haven't seen her for a long time?
Yeah, exactly, Michael. I compared this yesterday to what they did with Madison County in the Levin Classic. I'm referring to the Baker-Forsman training combination last Saturday when Madison County, we hadn't seen him since his win in the 2,000 guineas. And there was trepidation in the market that day around his price. He ended up being a winning result for us because there was so much money around the horses that had been fresh in the mind. And perhaps we can say that something very similar is happening here around Vallely. Look, the run behind Media Sensation, excellent. I think she's got a lot more upside than most in this field. And if you took her on class, you'd be lapping up the 2.6. But because of that the factors I've mentioned, we are seeing money for the likes of Sauvignon Blanc, who's just shortened a point in the last sort of half an hour or so to a clear second favourite now at 4.8, Sauvignon Blanc. And a couple in the middle market, the Taranaki Raiders here, Schist for Alan Sharrock. He's got a very nice bunch of 3-year-old fillies going around at the moment, and they think this one could be one as well. Currently $13 for Schist. And also Jackal Bomb, I see, is now quite a bad losing result for us, and that's really only happened in the last sort of couple of hours. So there's a couple in that middle market for you. But yeah, as I say, I've sort of mentioned Madison County around Vallely, and that's the reason. But yeah, I'd expect Vallely to be awfully hard to beat. But Sauvignon Blanc, Schist and Jackal Bomb are your each-way bets in the race.
Speed map will be interesting here over the 1,600 metres. Not too many of these fillies could just come stomping down the outside over the top of them. As we check that out, come back to you, Brendan Popplewell, and this pretty much sums up the season in one race. We have a very well-backed Baker-Forsman horse up against a horse with plenty of support from Jamie Richards and Tiakea, so that's pretty much how the season's gone.
Yeah, that's right. And gee, we have 1,000 guineas form here with Vallely. We have Sauvignon Blanc, who's certainly showed the potential with how she's won her last 2 starts, and she's aided with an inside barrier draw. First of all, Bevan, let's go to Vallely, where she was last presented to the races, and she was running second in the 1,000 guineas. And you also get a look at Secret Allure here as well, who finished into 4th position.
Well, she showed very, very good determination this day to get out after Media Sensation. How do we sort of frank this race up now that Media Sensation cooked itself a little bit at Ellerslie? But what you do know is the horse is tough. It really did find the line, and there's some good comments coming out of the Baker and Forsman camp around this horse and its ability to win a Group 1. Secret Allure just keeps on being forgotten wherever it goes, this horse. We forgot about it at Ellerslie, and it was only beaten a length and a half behind Imelda Mary with not a lot of luck in the last bit of the run. So she's right in the mix. Her draw is awkward, though, I think, in this type of race with the speed map I've done. But she's got the quality to win. He's Sauvignon Blanc, BP.
Yeah, I like this horse. Look, I thought this on this occasion, Opie was able to get her out at the right time, get her rolling, and I love how she's gone through the line. Good reports post-race as well from Jamie Richards that he really did the feeling that she is a black-type horse. So here's the chance today, and she's got herself a good barrier draw.
Yeah, she really flattened out. I like the way she just centred herself, gathered herself, and she was just clipping across the ground there. Like, she's got the blinkers on, so she's got it all been thrown at her, and she's just really developed from when I first saw it at New Plymouth, which wasn't a bad little form race in the end with Espresso Martini winning that. But yeah, she really flattened out. She's got a daisy clipping action, so she'll get the track condition today. And this is the horse out of the Taranaki now. GL Unleashed won the Ocean Park out of the Sea Sensational family on Thursday. He's also got Cinerama, who comes here the last day, and this filly, Schist. They put all sorts of money on the Marsh horse, and she just went, see you later, I'm off and gone. This race is all mine. So I think Al's setting her for the Oaks, so this is just another stepping stone to it. But I think she's an Oaks competitor. Once we get there, she's got a bit of a will to win. I've got Vallely on top over the 2 Secret Allure, always forgotten. I thought 4 Pull Your Socks Up It's got the form lines to be in the mix, and 12 Schist I'll throw in for value, with not the 6 being in there, but certainly probably should be on what we've got on paper.
Yeah, look, I love what I've seen out of the Taranaki from Schist, that is for sure. And look, I'm going to go with Savion Blanc, the horse who's mapped to be able to get a nice spot in behind them. And look, if he can show that sort of nice stretch and turn a foot over the 1,600 metres here this afternoon in a good field, Michael, will get a true line on her.
Looking forward to a 2-mile Wellington Cup. Of course, it went back to 2,400 metres a few years ago. I think everybody enjoys it being back at 2 miles. And as we get to the market, it's an even old go, as the 2-mile races tend to be. Excalibur, who's not proven over the 32, against a horse who very much is Thad in Bizwinkle. And there's been a bit of money for the toppy, even copping 60 kilos.
Yeah, usually when you see 60 kilos in a race like this, Michael, it does put people off, but certainly it hasn't with Bizwinkle, and I think it's that New Zealand Cup win that's fresh in people's minds, or relatively fresh certainly, where he just led all the way and dominated him, teams up with Sam Spratt again, and you know he's going to get the 2 miles, so I think people are thinking it's a safe bet in this year's Wellington Cup, Bizwinkle. But boy, oh boy, talk about evenness. You know, Excalibur, mental telepathy was unlucky in the Martin Cup. Prince Jabeel coming out of a City of Auckland Cup win was very good. And there's one horse here, Jack Star. You'll see it's favourite on the tote currently, Michael, at around $5.40, still $9.50 here. That has shortened up from around $12 since we opened this market. He's on the sort of comeback trail from injury. He was really competitive. He was unlucky not to win one of these feature-staying races at his last preparation. He got an injury. He's on the way back, and boy, oh boy, connections think he is back today. He is our worst result in the race, Jack Star, at this stage. It was a good third in the Martin Cup. And they were an even bunch of stayers, though, in saying that, Michael. So whoever does get that right run, that split at the right time, that little bit of luck, you'd expect to see them winning. But there's money for Jack Star. There's money for Bizwinkle. And there's also money for Prince Jabeel, but worst way in this year's Wellington Cup is Jack Star.
Speed map should have Bizwinkle very close to the speed, of course, from barrier 3 for Sam Spratt, who's stolen a couple of cups before down there at Riccarton from the front. And look, it's a long way to carry 60 kilos in front, Brendan Popplewell, but when you consider the fact that Prince Jabeel, who won the similar type race at the Ellerslie Carnival, carried 53.5, and he's up to 59, Bizwinkle's actually not too badly off.
Yeah, that's right. Bizwinkle's a massive chance with what we've seen, how he won the New Zealand Cup and then going off that effort even around Stratford as well. So horse comes in with rock solid form, does Bizwinkle, and will give them a sight with Sam Spratt aboard. Yeah, Prince Jabeel isn't well off with coming in off a lightweight of a City of Auckland Cup and finding itself near the top of the book.
Terrible. 3-win horse having to carry 59 kilos in a Wellington Cup. It's just gone skyrocketed through the weights here, and you'd have to say can't win with that as a 3-win horse, although we didn't think the horse could win this day, and it did. It just kept on running away from a horse we thought would go bang and look to. So I think the horse will run the 2 miles, but it's a big impulse as a 3-win horse, maiden at the start of the season, now carrying 59 in a Wellington Cup. That's really tough to do. If the horse wins, it'll win more 2-mile races here in New Zealand if it can step up with 59 kilos today from an Auckland Gate. Now this is the race where we see Sampson come off a trailing position and put them away. So this is the Martin Cup that we showed you a little bit earlier. Now, Duplicity ran second in a New Zealand Cup. Mental Telepathy, not all favours in this race, all down south. And Alinko Prince, he was third in this race last year. Look, I've been on Jack Star since the crack of the gun, since he stepped out in the futures markets. So in a tough race, I decided, well, I'm just going to stick with the ship, and I think everything he's done this preparation suggests that he will get the 2 miles again. He was very good here going down to Savaria. The braveness to simply do what he did at Ellerslie and to run third in that race is amazing. He's had stem cell treatment. We caught up with Gary Vile, was growing a whole new tendon. He's very sound. Gee, I hope he can win. I really think he deserves a 2-mile race, and I'll be with him, and I think they'll take more money. I really do think they'll take more money on him today.
That was a massive run in the Martin Cup. It really was, and it was an encouraging run from a horse getting to 3,200 metres now as well, from that horse finishing into third position. Look, I've sort of been a little bit like Bevan with Excalibur, sort of waiting for 3,200 metres. I thought the last run in the City of Auckland Cup just hinted that the horse is ready now for a 3,200 metre trip, the way that it sort of kept coming towards the line and behind Prince Jabeel in the City of Auckland Cup. And Excalibur is rated around $7 with bookmakers.
I'll say it again, I've been saying it for the last year, every major handicap, and I'm talking 100,000 plus in this country for the last year, has been won by a horse carrying 53 or 54 kilos. I'm not sure that'll happen today because those further up in the weights have a clear class advantage, but when you bet against that trend, you are betting against the way things have run for an entire 12-month period. Who do you back on the 53, a Hank Moody type horse? I don't know. But that's been the trend, so make of that what you will. Last on the card is the Duro Cup. It's always a good betting race, but this year it's been a bit skinnier because Lincoln Raider has taken all the money and it's big on ability. Thaddeus, Lisa Bellier has also got a bit there at 4.8, but I thought Owen Patrick, look, $9, 3 kilo claim, wasn't the worst. Any money there at all?
Yeah, there is, Michael, there is. Wiremu pin aboard, and yeah, look, he's been good at his last two. It does look a sort of a one-pace type, but it was interesting to hear the comments of Sean Ritchie suggesting that they just don't know where the bottom of this horse is, Owen Patrick. So he could just keep on running. So, look, if you're willing to take that chance down on 51, you know, it's probably not a bad each-way bet and a nice way to try and blast out in the last there at Trentham, the Duro Cup. Look, Lincoln Raider, $2.50. The win 2 starts ago on the track was very impressive indeed. And yeah, look, forgive it for last time. Obviously, that ground up at Ellerslie didn't suit. So, looks to be the obvious one in the last, Lincoln Raider. Le Sablier has shortened against it though, Michael. Been going very, very well indeed, Le Sablier. I think it was $6 when we opened this market, now into $4.80. Irish Flames, another one that they're having a little bit of a tickle at $11. But yeah, look, best bet clearly here, Lincoln Raider. Owen Patrick and Irish Flame in that middle market, and Le Sablier has been a shortener against the favourite.
Don't let the speed map pid you off with Lincoln Raider. He got awfully far back here 2 starts ago and just didn't matter. Just charged over the top of them. Brendan, he's pretty darn good. Forget the run last time out at Ellerslie. Lisa didn't have one of those days at the office on that occasion, and particularly with this horse, he did not handle the track at all. Small field, a big help.
Yeah, look, Lincoln Raider's a fair horse, isn't he? And as you said, I think we just forget what happened last time to the races, take the guide from 2 starts ago, and probably a little bit of a money trail is there. But this is the effort, Bevan, from last time to the races, Lincoln Raider, and many might be thinking this might be a nice way to try and complete the day.
Always is a good horse that wins the Giro. I think that record stands up through the last decade, really. I remember Jelinski Prince taking one of these out. He went on to win a couple of Group 1s. That's Jesse G, who's raced with good credit post this, and he was a bit green. He kept on ducking in under Opie, but you just felt that he was going to get there. Father Lenehan's down towards the inside. He's gone on 1 since, and Wafer's there and behind them, a black type mare. So the form's okay, and geez, good. I have to say he was disappointed at Ellerslie, but we just forgive and forget. He's the best bet on the program for me. I thought the $3 was pretty good, and $2.50 is going to sort of shorten up even further, I think, through the program. If we get a couple of hot pots up through the day, this price will disappear to $2.20, maybe even shorter. So he's the best on the day for me. Owen Patrick maps to get the right run, though. He'll be there for a long way, and he hasn't sort of backed off on his runs this preparation, has he? No. He's really found the line. So he's an improved horse. He's got to be in the mix. I couldn't believe Irish Flame was out at that price. This horse has been in against some really nice horses and been really competitive. He'll be ready to go from Johnny Wheeler's team. He was good in 82. He's had to freshen up. He's at the mile. Good tough horse, very good tough horse. And outside of that, I went to the 12. I threw the 12, and that being Le Sablier, didn't throw it in, to be fair. It's a pretty smart sort of horse, as we saw at Hawke's Bay and on other occasions. But its draw's awkward. If it got a run, it's in the mix as well.
Yep, yeah, I'm with Lincoln Raider. I think this is a horse who can really go on with the job. Yeah, you're right around Owen Patrick. He's shown real good toughness today, that he's fought them off at Hawke's Bay, and then he's done the same thing again at his next start at Rotorua, and with that lightweight can be a player in the race. All right, $100 spin, Bevan?
Going to mix it up a little bit today. I really just thought I'm going to put 100 on Lincoln Raider and leave it at that at $3, but it's one of those days you just want to have a little bit of a further look afield. So, Lincoln Raider's my best, and Tiptronic's my best value. What's Up is my blowout. I'm going to have, what are we going to have? 40 to 1 on Lincoln Raider. Tiptronic will put 20 to 1 on him. What's Up to place is around $7. Put 20 to place on him. And Jack Star will just put another 20 on him and hope he wins.
Nice work. All right. What about for you, Aidan Rodley?
Guys, I think I'm not going to be doing too much outside what you guys have been talking about this morning. I think pretty much around the Thorndon horses that you were keen on. So 10 each way, Darscape Princess, also 10 each way, Sultan of Swing, also 10 each way on Tiptronic in that race. And going to my favourite, Lincoln Raider in the last 40 a win there. So pretty much what you guys have been speaking all day.
All right. Nice work, Aidan. And for me, I'm going to go best bet. I'm going to go for ScoMo Eagle in race number 2 as my best bet on the racing program. Unlucky around Mudda, and my value bet will be Tiptronic as well. We'll put 40 to win on ScoMo Eagle. We'll go 10 each on Tiptronic. Ready to do like Lord Arthur, was very close to making that my best as well. We'll make that as a $20 win bet, and we'll have something each way on Sauvignon Blanc in race number 8. That's the preview here for the Punters Lounge out of Trentham. Michael Guerin will pass it back to you. Our first live race here on the Champagne Turf will be at 12:15.
Can't wait for that, mate. Thanks for your time this morning. To you, to Aidan, of course, also, and to Alicia on track there at Trentham. Back at Trentham for the big day before too long. As we head back to Thad, Thad, we haven't had much chance to talk about Gore today. We're going to have lots of lead-in time to the Gore races, but where has the money gone down south? Can you pick out 2 or 3 who the punters have come for?
Yeah, I've got a couple of each way bets for you. Obviously, we don't need to touch on weaponry. Michael, in the Gore Guineas, $1.90 and very, very well backed. But the one I mentioned earlier, Riviera Rock, continues to be well backed. It was $6 when we opened this market. It's now $4.80. Clearly the worst result. Going for back-to-back wins is Riviera Rock in race number 6. As I scan down the page, Shirley Maud in race number 8. The super consistent Shirley Maud, going for another win. That's been extremely well backed as well. 6 into 5 in race number 8. And the lucky last, it's the 5th favourite, but it's only paying $6.50, Michael. Very, very even go. And that is Perfecto. Clearly the worst way in the last of the day. So some nice each way bets there. Riviera Rock, Shirley Maud and Perfecto. Just one last thing before I go, Michael. We've applied no deduction around Samson in this year's Wellington Cup, so there's over 3,000 single bets written on the race. Big wide open race. Don't want to be setting any precedents, of course, Michael. We'll go down that line, but we've decided against applying the deduction around Samson. So what you have on your ticket is what you'll receive when they cross the line.
Nice work, Thad. Appreciate your help. I hope you have a bad day, because you're a bookmaker. So that's as honest as I can be, hairy fella. Off you go. Go do some work and try and lose some money for the tab and see how it goes. Valachi, of course, have been sponsors of Punters Lounge this morning. We appreciate all their sponsorship and what they do for racing. They have a couple of their featured runners. Pippa Ray is in the Telegraph for Karen and John, my old friends from down there in North Canterbury, and Secret Allure is in the Desert Gold for Lisa Latter. 2 of their runners today for Valachi. Okay, we're going to take a short break. Go put the kettle back on because we're about to get serious. On the other side of this, we're joining Mark Cookson for Gore Guineas Day.
I was